I live in Northeast Florida, and one of my favorite places to fish is in the Timucuan Ecological Preserve. The Timucuan is just outside of Jacksonville, Florida, and has over 46,000 acres of marshes, creeks, along with 3 inlets out to the ocean. Driving through the preserve is a treat in itself, being able to see all the large oaks that have been sculpted by the ocean breezes. The Timucuan is an overlooked fishing destination in Florida. You won't find the crowds here that you will find in other popular places like Mosquito Lagoon. What you will find is plenty of space and hungry fish. This trip took place in January, and over the previous week, the daily temperatures had ranged from a low of about 27 degrees up to a high of the upper 50s. This was the first day that the temperatures had actually warmed up some, and we're expecting a high on this trip of around 70 degrees. Water temperatures are still pretty low, averaging in the upper 50s. With cold water temps, it's very important to work your baits very slow. With the colder surface water temperatures, the fish were held up today in deeper water between 10 to 15 feet deep. The warmer water found in these deeper holes enables the bait fish and also the bigger fish to survive the colder Northeast Florida temperatures. Finding deep water if you don't have a depth finder is not that hard. Just look for areas where water comes through a narrow spot, an outside bend of a creek, or one of my wintertime favorites is where 1 or 2 small creeks come into a larger creek, and also where there are extensive mud flats around to soak up the sun's heat. Once I've located a hole, I'll either use my trolling motor to hold me down current of it, or if I start catching fish out of the hole, I'll just go ahead and drop my anchor quietly and fish it for a little bit. As it got later in the morning, the wind really picked up, but it sure didn't have any effect on the fishing. As a matter of fact, the harder the wind blew, the better the fish bit. During the 3 hours that I was out, the fish were so concentrated in these holes, I never went more than about 3 casts before I had a fish on. Whenever I go out fishing, I always bring 4 to 6 rods that are already rigged with different baits. This enables me to quickly change to find out what the fish want. Today, the most popular bait was a 3-inch white plastic body rigged on a 1/4 ounce chartreuse jig head. I use a heavier jig head so I can get down deep, and also in the winter months the fish seem to prefer a smaller bait, so I use a 3-inch body as opposed to a 4-inch or 5-inch plastic body. To my 10-pound braided fishing line, I tie a 2-foot segment of 15-pound fluorocarbon leader, and then I tie on the jig with a loop knot. You have to love that blue tail on that redfish. Here is one happy redfish to be going home to his buddies. Like the trout and the redfish, it was time for me to head home. With the wind gusting around 20 miles an hour, I left my anchor down to make sure I could get my motor started. Then it was time to head to the front of the boat and pull anchor and get myself positioned with the trolling motor so that when I went to the back of the boat, I still had plenty of water underneath the boat to run the big motor. All in all, it must be a pretty entertaining fire drill to watch, and I'm sure some birds got a good laugh out of it. A big thank you to all my subscribers for watching and for joining in on this adventure. If you haven't had a chance yet, please subscribe to my channel so you don't miss the next trip.